Okay.
Is that going to interfere? I turned the volume up a little bit. I don't want to interfere with you.
No, I don't think so.
All right.
No, it should be fine.
Well, on news broadcasts, when people have the volume up, it sometimes they get feedback. That's why I was just asking.
No, it should be fine. I'm not too worried about it.
All right.
All right. So, for everybody that's watching this is my father. What is your official work name, Dad? Is it you go by William still, or do you go by Mike?
No, I go by William.
Okay.
My first name.
This is William Stiger, and the name of the business is now what?
Well, it's Centerless Rebuilders Incorporated.
Okay. And what is your background, education-wise and work experience?
Yeah, I mean, when I got started, obviously I finished high school, took a lot of classes that were pertinent, drafting, course mathematics. Then I did a lot of technical training. I never did officially go college full-time, but I got a lot of pertinent classes. And then in the industrial field that I work in, I did a lot of technical classes, PLC programming, more advanced CAD, different training that I would use in my career.
You have a lot of certifications, don't you, or no?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was certified by SME as a, mechanical engineer. A lot of the, back in the days, and I'm going back a few years here, but 40 years ago, there were those who go into college, but some of them are like me. I mean, I had you when I was a young man, and you have family, and you didn't go into college. You went a different direction in your life, but you could take a lot of technical classes like at Society of Engineers and such, and they would certify you. And so it's not really a four-year diploma, but it is certifications for engineering, yes.
Oh, nice. How long have you currently right now been in business?
How long have I been in business?
Yeah.
Right now, the current business, we started in 94, so do the math, it's 24 years, I believe.
Yeah. 94, yeah. I remember my junior year changing that pole barn into a building. So.
Yes, we did.
How would you describe your business? Also, or what is it that you actually do?
Well, our business started out, my partner was Bud Philippak, and he already had Centerless Rebuilders Incorporated started. He started at in 88. He was in his early 20s, but he was very good at rebuilding centerless grinders. And a centerless grinder is a machine that's used to grind ODs, used like in the bearing industries, where they grind the outside diameter of a bearing. I got involved in 94 with more of my control and automation background, and so we married the two businesses together. And so what we really do now is we rebuild centerless grinders, but we've taken it far beyond. Now the machines, it'll have 8 axes with CNC motion with, dressers, 2-axis dressers, multiple in-feed systems, and then on top of that, we'll have automation like robotics or mechanical automation, depending on the application. But so now it's becoming more of a turnkey, because in our business world, people don't buy machines, they buy a process, and they expect you to give them what they call a turnkey, which means it does everything they want. And it's not just a piece of equipment, but it's a machine system that does a process.
Mm-hmm. Who is your ideal customer right now?
Well, we target the bearing industry pretty highly. Bearing companies like Timken, Barden, SKF, but also we do, like your students would know, lawnmower engines. We supply all the grinders for Briggs and Stratton, who makes all the small engines for like lawnmower engines, or like their parents' lawn tractor. I don't know if you guys You guys even have mowers down here in Arizona,
Yeah,
but
we do.
they're things that have a blade that cuts grass. They don't do a good job on rocks, but they do good on grass. But anyway, they produce 8 million small engines a year, and what we do is we grind the crankshafts that are used inside the engine. So that's a big customer for us. And automotive, we do a lot of various things for automotive. So it's a wide range. We try to diversify to where we're only about 50-50. 50% automotive and 50% what we call non-automotive,
Okay.
like lawnmowers, bearings, stuff like that.
Okay, nice. Um, the other question I have then is, what ignited your desire to get into this business per se?
Well, your grandfather, when I was a very young man, he had a little grinding shop in the house, and he taught me how to grind cutters, things like end mills and shell mills. And so when I was young, for $10 a week, I would grind tools for my dad, your grandfather, and so that got me into grinding. Is this, in general. But my real love is I've always liked to tinker with stuff. I wasn't satisfied on seeing how a lawnmower worked. I wanted to tear it apart and see what was inside of it, and put it back together, and see if I could get it to work. So I've always had this mechanical knack, and so I like to do things with my hands, and that's really what the driving force at a young age, what I was doing.
Okay, nice. I don't know if if you can answer this or want to. Who are your competitors, and have you learned anything from them?
Well,
You don't have to name your competitors, but
no,
you
no,
have
that's
some
fine. I
that.
mean, it doesn't matter. We have several competitors, but you see, the industry, what we're considered is basically, even though we build basically new machines, we're taking an older machine and we're re-engineering it and making a modern machine. So we're still classified as a used machine business. We call it remanufacturing. Some people call it rebuilders, but we call it remanufacturing because basically all we're using is the base casting. We're making all new components for it. There's probably in the United States, there's probably three uh, primary competitors that we have. They're just other companies that do what we do. But, they're actually, unfortunately, the United States has lost its capability of building new equipment. Most all of the equipment that's been built in the United States in the last 3 decades has came from overseas. So, like lathes, mills, those kind of tools that are used in the machine tool industry, a lot of them are brought in from either the Western and the Eastern Pacific Rim, like Japan, Korea, or the European countries, like mainly Germany, some French, some Italian. The United States, we're trying to build it back, but we don't build many equipment in the United States today.
Hmm. What makes your business stand out from your competitors?
Our business stands out because we automate. Because we use a lot of robotics, handling the parts going in and out of the grinder, because we're able to give them the broad, like I said before, the turnkey
Yeah,
complete
that they want.
package, and that they send us what they want to grind, and we design the system to grind it complete, all with automation. So basically, they just load parts up on one end, and then it packs parts out at the other end.
Yeah.
By the way, if you show your students YouTube channel, if you look up our channel, Centerless Rebuilders Incorporated, we have a YouTube channel. It's got like 60 different videos, and you'll find a few that are really cool that you can show your students if you want.
Yeah, no, I was gonna planning on doing that. I remember that because you've shown my boys that.
Sure.
What's been the most difficult part of running this business?
Well, the hardest thing in doing a business is that to be profitable. By far, that's the hardest thing. For instance, when they give you a job, you basically know what your basic costs are going to be to build this machine. But because we build a process, in other words, it's not good enough that the grinder goes in and out and makes sparks. What it has to do is go in and out and make good parts and handle their parts. And so sometimes the engineering, as far as the automation, becomes more of a challenge to make money. But that's the hardest thing is to, if it's an easy job, they'll have it done overseas. The jobs that are in the States are the ones that are very, very fine tolerance. For instance, our tolerances are usually 1 or 2 micron. And for your students, a micron is 40 millionths of 1 inch. So if you put the zeros on it for inch, in millimeters it's 0.001. In inch it's 0.0004. And your hair is 2,000. So what we grind to is about 20 times finer than the diameter of one of your hairs. That's what's hard.
Yeah, I understand
Well,
that.
I'm just being honest.
No,
I
that's
mean,
true.
that's
Not,
what we do.
yeah, no, that's what I like to hear. What have you learned by running this business? I mean, has there been a lot?
What have I learned?
Yeah.
Well, a better way of figuring out how to make more money. That the idea is to learn how to streamline,
Okay.
to learn how to better quote jobs. Again, it's very difficult because we don't build a commodity like snow shovels or computers, or we don't build a commodity. We build machines, and so it becomes harder because the challenge of giving the customer what they want. And so we've become much better at how to departmentalize our, who does best in our company,
Yeah.
and make sure that we build on their strengths and become more efficient, which makes you more profitable.
What do you know now that you didn't know when you started this business?
Geez. Everything. I mean, the hardest thing when you start a business is that you don't have a good sense of what money is. Learn how to manage your money. Everybody says, "Well, I'm going to get $1,000 to go do this job." Yeah, but you spent a lot of time doing it, and you had a lot of expenses, and when you get done, that big $1,000 paycheck ends up being $100, and then you got to feed your family with that $100 after you pay everybody else what you did. So I've learned a great deal. I mean, everything about business is very difficult. I got a lot of help, but I think the best thing I learned is to build good teams. You have to have people that had a unique skill set that complements you. Because if you think you can do it all, you're wrong. Remember, only 1 out of 5 businesses make it past 5 years.
Yeah.
And it's because, if you're going to do it all yourself, well, you're going to have some weaknesses. Either you're not, and learning that and learning to rely on other people and to build a team is probably the most important thing that I've learned.
If you had the chance to start over, what would you do differently?
Start with a better team.
Okay.
I mean, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean, when I first started, you remember when you were here and you were young, still in high school. I mean, how many hours did I work? How many days were I gone?
Yeah.
I mean, and it was because I was doing a lot of it myself, and I was building a team. I had a half a dozen people, but everything depended on me.
Yeah.
And to get people capable of handling some of that burden is very important. Just ask Elon Musk.
Yeah.
He'll tell you all about it. Elon might be the smartest guy in the world, but when he tried I'm sure you guys hear a lot about the Model 3, and when he started to launch that factory, he worked 100 hours a week, which we all have in a small business. You work some crazy hours when you're trying to get things going. But he also was smart. He surrounded himself with some brilliant people that is as smart or not smarter than him. And that's how they were able to get out of their, I don't know what they called it, startup nightmare or whatever. They
Hmm.
called it startup something. But it was tough. He's
Yeah.
doing better now, and they're becoming profitable. And I think Tesla will do very good with the Model 3.
What are some of the biggest mistakes you've made as an entrepreneur?
Managing people, um, I have I don't have a lot of patience, so there's someone always told me, it's a wife saying to inspect your expectations. Of course, I didn't do that. I expected them to do it as fast and as quick and as good as I could. And when they fell short, I was sometimes not a very nice person.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, that's my main thing.
Uh,
You know,
where do you see your business in 10 years?
yeah, that's an interesting question. Um, right now, we get 50% of our work from people that build engines, transmissions, rear ends. I brought up Tesla because they are absolutely, I don't know what they call them, but disruptive to the market. Um, I don't know what it's going to be like in 10 years because 50% of our work is done with automotive companies, and they're not going to need an engine. They're not going to need a transmission. They're not even going to need a rear end. They need two electric engines that are electric motors that are attached to a small two sprocket gearbox, I mean, there's nothing to it. And that's the drivetrain. And to be honest with you, there's not much there for us to work on
Hmm.
or build machines for. So 10 years will be okay, 20 years, it's changing. So we'll have to evolve. We'll find different avenues. It may be that we build less grinders and do more automation,
Hmm.
but we'll see. We have that capability. But
And
it's the world's changing quickly right now as far as that kind of thing.
yeah, I know I've seen over the years the technology you've used has changed rapidly with using robots and all the different things. So, um,
Yeah, but I mean, now it's like, like when, yeah, I don't think everybody understands, but if you ever tear an engine apart, there's 1,000 pieces in an engine. Every little piece in that engine, there's tons of pieces. You take a transmission apart, it's very intricate. It's got multiple sets of gears and planetary systems, and it's amazing. It's a mechanical amazing thing. The thing is, electric cars don't need it, and the world produces almost over 100 million cars a year new, and if they all go electric, that's going to be revolutionary to the world. And I think don't get me wrong, I think it's good, but for our industry, our grinders aren't going to be needed.
yeah,
I'll need to figure out how to put, windshield wipers with my robot on his car instead of, grinding apart.
yeah.
That thing.
Last question. What advice would you give a young entrepreneur?
Surround yourself with smart people that are like-minded but have different skill sets, and look at some classic stories like Apple. Steve Jobs gets a lot of credit for being the wizard behind Apple, but he really wasn't. If you go back and look at the story, Steve Jobs had a great skill set. He could imagine things and see what the market would need, like a computer on every desk. But then you had Wozniak, that was the brains behind it, that could build the boards that make like the first Apple II, and so on and so forth. And then as their company grew, they got more software engineers. The point is that it's very difficult to do it on your own. If you get involved with a team of people. They need to be like-minded, and it's good if they have unique skill sets that complement each other. Um, and But don't be afraid to try. I failed my first time. When you were just born, I had a business. It failed. It wasn't until you were a teenager that I actually started this business and was successful. There's a lot of failures in business, but surround yourself with good people that have a good work ethic that you can stand to be next to after they haven't showered for 3 days and still be next to them. Because it gets kind of grubby when you're in there working hours, making something happen.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time. And I know my students will hopefully have learned a lot from this. So thank you, Dad.
Well, I don't know, but hopefully I wish them all the best in the world. The best thing I'd say is education is the number one most important thing you can get. And that's most important thing for you to apply yourself at. And then look for your future.
Thanks, Dad.
All right, buddy.
Appreciate it. Anything else? So that'll be it then. I'll cut it from that point. So thanks.
Sure.
Sorry you can't see me. I'm just still trying to figure that stupid thing out.
Well, at least you can see me. That's all I care about.
Yeah.